Alright, so in this reflection, I'm going to be walking through my project Between the Trees and explaining how my production skills developed throughout the entire process, from the planning stage all the way to editing. Going into this project, I had a general idea of what I wanted my film to look like, especially the tone. But I didn't fully understand how much detail actually goes into making everything come together until I started working on it myself. So, for planning, I did create a script and a storyboard, but I'll be honest, I didn't fully rely on them while filming. They helped me get a general idea of what I wanted the opening to look like, but when it came to actually shooting, I ended up using more of my own judgment in the moment. A lot of the decisions I made coming from just thinking about what looked right visually instead of strictly following what I had written down. For example, I would adjust camera angles, positioning, or timing based on how the scene felt rather than sticking exactly to the plan. This showed me that while planning is important, it doesn't always translate perfectly into filming. Sometimes you have to trust your instincts and adapt based on the environment and what's happening in real time. So even though I had a plan, I relied more on my creativity and decision making during production, which helped me grow as a filmmaker. When I moved into filming, this is where I feel like I improved the most. I had to start thinking more carefully about camera placement and how each shot would actually look on screen instead of just imagining it. For example, in the opening scene where Aaliyah is on the ground, I used angles that make her look more vulnerable, especially from a lower perspective. That wasn't something I would have thought deeply about before, but during filming, I started realizing how much camera angles can affect how the audience sees a character. I also had to step into directing, which was honestly something I wasn't very confident in at first. Telling people how to act or how I wanted a scene to feel felt kind of awkward in the beginning, but over time, I got more comfortable with it. I learned how to explain things more clearly and adjust performances so they felt more natural instead of forced. There were also a lot of real challenges that came up while filming, especially because I was shooting on location. For example, in the first scenes, it was actually difficult to find a moment where the sun was hitting the character directly in the right way so she could still block it naturally. That's something that sounds simple, but in reality, you can't control the sun, so it took time and patience. During the boardwalk sequence, there were also people walking around, which made it harder to get a clean shot. I couldn't control the environment, so I had to either wait or work around it. The boardwalk itself was also kind of slippery, and one of the actors actually slipped at one point. Which just shows how unpredictable filming can be. On top of that, there were also background noises that I couldn't really control, so I had to deal with that as well. All of these situations forced me to adapt instead of trying to make everything perfect. I think that's where I really started thinking more like a filmmaker, because I had to problem solve in the moment instead of just following my original plan. When I got into editing, I used CapCut, and this is where I started understanding how everything comes together. At first, I was just cutting clips and putting them in order, but then I realized how important pacing actually is. If something is cut too quickly, it feels rushed, but if it was too long, it can feel awkward or slow in the wrong way. So I had to go back and adjust a lot of my clips to make the scene flow better. I also worked on adding my opening credits, and originally I planned to make them more diegetic, like part of the scene itself, but I ended up changing that to non-diegetic because it was interfering with the filming process. That decision showed me how sometimes your original ideas don't always seem to work out in the beginning, and you just have to adjust them. I also focused on choosing the right font and placement so the credits didn't distract from the scene, but still added to the overall tone. In conclusion, I feel like I've improved in a lot of areas throughout this project. I understand more about how to plan a scene, how to film it with intention, and how to edit in a way that actually supports the story. At the beginning, I didn't fully understand how all these parts connected, but now I can see how each stage, like planning, filming, and editing, all worked together to create the final project. I also became more confident making decisions and adapting when things didn't go as planned, which is something I didn't have at the start. Thank you.